So Apple entered the hearing care industry last year with the introduction of the hearing health features in their AirPod Pros as part of an iOS 18 update. What impact has that made on the hearing care industry? In this video, I want to share exactly what has happened, what it's meant for stats, and what it means for the future of the hearing care industry. Because as you can see here, when they launched it, they dropped a TV advertisement, a commercial, and it jumped to just over 50 million views in a handful of weeks of people seeing these hearing health features in this kind of dramatic video that really pulled on the heartstrings. And it made quite a drastic difference. Like, this was a graph between 2004 and present day in terms of US search of the term hearing aid. And if we look at it's been pretty stable for a period of time. If we look at the dip here, this was in COVID, Q2 of COVID. Naturally, people searching hearing aid was not a priority. We've seen a relatively large reduction. We see this double spike here that happened during OTC's announcement. So when over-the-counter hearing aids were introduced and signed and approved by the FTC, it was naturally a spike, and then it kind of disappeared for a little time, and then they were actually launched, and then mainstream media headlines, and we've seen that double spike. And then this big monumental one, which stands out like head and shoulders above everything else, is Apple. Apple have introduced hearing aids was like the headline across many reputable mainstream media platforms. As a result, drove a lot of attention to the term hearing aid, what this is, and a Goliath like Apple entered. What's it going to mean for the future of people accessing hearing aid technology? And what did it do to the actual industry? Well, this is quite interesting. So here's some stats from MVP, and this is running MVP just for transparency. It's a data platform that has data across over 1,000 hearing care practices in the US. So it allows us to see kind of big picture data. And we're seeing from a new patient unit, new patient appointments, a little bit of a unique graph. And what we've seen was, I suppose, two interesting trends here. And the first trend is in November 2022, where we see new patient appointments drastically decline, which was very much coincided with the introduction of over-the-counter hearing aids. We've seen people who were in the journey of exploring their options now just taking a back seat, people who were scheduled, rescheduling or cancelling because they wanted to assess what these affordable hearing aids launched by Bose, Jabra, Sony were going to be like. And then we've seen almost an identical thing here in November 24, which coincides once again with Apple introducing these hearing health features and similar mainstream media headlines. Now, what is interesting, after over-the-counter hearing aids were introduced, we've seen this initial decline and then pretty significant growth during 2023. And the reason for this, in many aspects, was because the OTC hearing aids didn't deliver on the promises that many people wanted. People wanted a solution. What they weren't, in many cases, unless you had a very, very mild situational hearing loss, was not a long-term solution, and it resulted in good growth for people naturally then going to an expert to get the help they actually need, rather than thinking it can be solved by putting something in their ear, programming it with their cell phone and hoping for the best. The question is, are we going to see the same with Apple in 2025? And just a note, we are seeing that right now. And it's perfectly summarized here. Like, in that same data set, if we look at the types of hearing aids that people are investing in, premium and advanced is continuing to stay strong. The big decline that we've seen is in basic and entry-level technology. Essentially, the people that were looking to achieve the outcome for the least amount of investment, they're the ones where we're seeing the biggest decline. And naturally, that would be the market that most naturally would gravitate towards an Apple-based $300 type of solution. But what is interesting here is this is just the start of it. So if you study the way that Apple always do anything, they launch the software, the iOS update first with the software capabilities, and then they launch the hardware in order to complement the software. With the iOS 18 being launched with these hearing health features, it does mean that the AirPod Pro 3s are not too far away. They were being tipped for release like now, 2025. I've seen it pushed towards the end of 2025 at one of their big Apple updates, and now seeing more and more that this will actually be in 2026, given some of the challenges that Apple have naturally had with tariffs, having to relocate their fulfillment, their development, creation, etc. So it may be delayed slightly further here. It's interesting to see the most recent set of earphones / headphones that an Apple related company have launched have been the Powerbeats Pro 2. And this is from Beats, who Apple acquired, I think it's about 12 years ago now. They launched these in February of 2025. And it's interesting just to see some of the features these have in them. 45 hours of battery life being one, which was always the biggest complaint with the AirPod Pro 2s and why it wouldn't be a good solution for somebody that actually needs hearing help. We're seeing the technology naturally be there. We just didn't have the capabilities or the needs for that level of battery life in previous AirPods. So it's interesting to see exactly where we're at right now. But you've got to remember, Apple are one of the most monumental tech companies in the world. If they dropped everything else and just did the AirPods, they'd still be one of the largest tech companies in the world. And just their R&D investment is close to $31 billion a year. Now, that is similar to the GDP of Senegal. It's more than the GDP of Senegal. So it's a very, very interesting times of the impact that Apple's had on the market, and more importantly, the impact it's probably going to have, and the part of the market it's going to impact more and more. But as I hear more and more people speak about Apple, as I hear different opinions around this, this is exactly what we're seeing from a data perspective from within the industry. And hope that was helpful. Appreciate your time.